Welcome back to Movement Professional. So today I want to have a discussion about the difference between a Russian kettlebell swing and an American kettlebell swing, or a kettlebell swing that goes to the chest versus one that goes to overhead. So the Russian swing, what it's usually described, goes to the chest. The American swing goes overhead. The different communities that you usually see the difference is CrossFit will tend to have their standard be the American style swing overhead. And in the Strong First community, they certainly talk about it as more of a Russian style, just to the chest. And to me, like, both of them are fair game, and I just look at one as an extension of the other. And oftentimes they're, again, as you'll see in fitness all the time, people have to argue about it. But when we understand, like, what's the common thread there, and what are some of the things we don't want to see with either, then I think we have a better understanding that it's whatever your preference is, and there's definitely pros and cons to both. And it also depends on, like, what else you're doing. So for, you know, which one would be more useful. So for the Russian swing, let me just demonstrate first. The way that I've taught it, or learned it at first, is just start with the hips back, sort of like I'm hiking the bell, and I'm just gonna get it to my chest and back up. All right, so what's really important here is that action of my arms is not really an arm action. The arms are going with the flow, but the action, the engine, is my hips popping and exploding, and I'm going with the momentum of the bell. So I'm only gripping the bell as much as I need to grip it to go with the movement. So it depends on really how heavy the bell is, and that's how much I'll grip. I don't want to over grip because it'll slow it down, but I don't want to feel like I'm pulling the weight up. And this is going to be the common thread between what you don't want to do with either swing, and there's a little bit more danger to it, I would say, with the American swing because there's a greater range of motion to take it, but you don't want it to be an upper body exercise per se, or you want the arms to basically be going for the ride, and the hips are always the engine. So if I'm doing the American swing, I might have to keep it a little bit tighter to my body on the way up, but I'm using more hip drive, floats, and then I go with it. So one of the values of the American swing is because it goes a little higher, I have more momentum to go down that I have to go with. That's also one of the cons because not everyone has the ability to control that greater momentum, and not everyone has the hip drive to drive the weight overhead without having to add a pull of the shoulders. And there's not necessarily a danger to the shoulders per se by using the arms to go overhead. You just want to know, is that the intention of the exercise you're doing? So generally, for a kettlebell swing, it is powerful hip extension, is this powerful hip drive that we're trying to get out of it. So if we do a kind of a weak hip drive and then we use our arms over and over again, we could be doing a lot of swings. Eventually we might get some elbow problems, some shoulder problems, but we're also, like, neglecting the value of the exercise, which is ultimately to build that dominant hip extension. All right, so I think both of them are fair game. A lot of times, if you are doing Russian swings, you can eventually do a snatch, which kind of looks like a one-sided version of the American swing. So sometimes that's why a lot of people who are doing Russian swings, they also have a snatch in their repertoire, so they might not do as many American swings. But I think the American swing is fine, especially if you're just trying to get some variation. And you want to see, I want to take that two-handed extension of my hips and see if I can ride it up overhead a little bit more and then be able to ride that wave on the way down. I think it's valuable. But I don't think we need to argue about one being safe and one not being safe. We just have to understand the difference and that both of them are being generated from that hip drive.